Добрий день.
Good morning. I want to thank everybody who joins us. My name is Ola Atamanova, and it's my pleasure to welcome you to Ukrainian Media Center Current Form today. Today is day 971 of the full-scale invasion of our homeland by Russian aggressor. It's been 11 years of the war, and today we will be talking on a very important topic. We will be talking about the preparation efforts of the capital of Kyiv to the heated season. Joining us in the studio is Petro, Deputy Head of Kyiv State City Administration. So, Mr. Petro, let's talk about preparation. How are we making it in terms of systemic processes such as capital repairs? And the most important question, when should the Kyivites expect to see the heat supply in their homes? Good morning. Really, the topic of heating season is really pressing. We are through the preparation efforts. We were planning a lot, both in terms of civil efforts that we were undertaking before the war and generally in terms of reinforcement of our energy efficiency, resilience. So as we talk about preparation, it was a complex task. As you know, we started supplying heat to the social sector institutions. Now the heat is supplied to the hospitals, kindergartens, schools. So all those facilities that require heat supply the most, the heat supply is being performed upon requests or applications by the heads of the relevant institutions. And talking about the residences, we mostly oriented weather conditions just like we always do. Now we see there's hot weather coming, and spending that golden, without exaggeration, guess is not efficient during the war. The matter of energy efficiency is really pressing during the war. That's why we will be looking at the weather. We'll see the forecast, we'll check out the tendencies, and when the cold weather will be coming, finally we will start supplying heat to the residences. So we've made a lot of replacements of pipelines in the areas that required it. We've replaced more than 55 kilometers of the pipeline networks this year. It's not just as much as we did before the war, but it still humbles me because regardless of financial deficit, the matter of modernization of heat supply system is still a priority for us. Within those years when the heat supply system management was given to the municipal authorities, we've replaced a lot. I'm talking about, those obsolete areas that proved their inefficiency previously, that resulted in the necessity of emergency repairs. On top of that, we've repaired the sources of heat supply, the boiler rooms, which are more than 150 in the city, plus the thermal power stations. We've completed the works on equipment replacement, equipment repair, and obviously the engineer defense of such facilities against the air attacks, which is necessary now. Mr. Petro, you've said that the heat will be supplied to the residences in view of the weather conditions, so let's inform our citizens what we will consider the necessary time, like the right time. Well, according to the standards, we need the daily temperature to fall below 8 degrees within 3 days in a row, and that will result in us taking decision on starting the heat supply. But again, we've just seen it. There were 3 cold days, and now the weather is getting warmer, and again it made us review the efficiency of such steps. So again, we don't rush to spend those precious resources, because again they are transformed into big figures in the denizens' bills. Well, as we see, starting from the beginning of November, the temperature will be lower, and this is when we will be about to take the decision on starting the heat supply, because spending gas just in the air, we cannot afford it. We need that gas, those reserves, to be sufficient for us so we could heat the Kyivites during the month of January and February, so we could use those reserves that are available to us today. We still can normally make it without those precious energy carriers that are real precious. Well, you've mentioned the gas and coal reserves. To what extent is the capital provided with all of that? Our gas supply system is a part of integral Ukrainian heat supply system. That's why, in fact, we depend on the state gas reserves. For what we can find out in the open sources, the gas is sufficient to make it through the heating season. Talking about coal, all those power sources that work on coal, they are fully supplied with coal, but still we have to economize. We still have to save the resources. Mr. Petro, we know that the aggressor continues inflicting strikes on all over our country, including the capital, and one way or another we're preparing for a difficult winter season. So to what extent is the capital ready to long-lasting power shutdowns? Well, this process of preparation to long-lasting shutdowns has not started today, and not even during the last heating season. The life forced us to take care of this problem, starting with the government and ending with every family. The level of readiness is growing within this summer period. A lot was done in terms of preparation of residential buildings to heating season, because we know if there is no electric power supply, the apartment blocks that are equipped with the pumps, elevators, and heating systems that work off electricity, they don't work either. And the city, the municipality, implemented a number of tools. We've developed such a program as 7030, the capital repairs program, and then another program of compensation for backup power sources started working, and this program was actively used by the Kyivites and is being actively used by the Kyivites. And just a couple of weeks ago, we've come to the point of 1,000 pieces of equipment within the last year. That's efficient. The people buy batteries, inverters, solar panels, generators, diesel, gas generators, you name it. And thus, the residential buildings become energy efficient and energy resilient. During power shutdowns, they don't have any breakdowns with the supply of utility services. It's incredibly important because every single family is involved in this process. People get together around this problem, and the tools, as I've said, are already available. The municipality finances the majority of those measures, and this story is efficient. So multi-level system of the municipality energy efficiency, in which the residential buildings are taking probably the key place. This multi-layer system, it grows on every level. It becomes stronger, it becomes way more reinforced, and we're not talking about thermal power plants, we're talking about everything here. And availing myself of this opportunity, I would like to say that even our apartment is a small fortress that should be should have available reserves of water, backup power sources. There are many people who install batteries and inverters in their apartments, and it does work. That's why altogether we are way better to get prepared to the winter than we were the year before or 2 years before. So year by year we implement this approach and we become more energy independent. There's still a lot to be done. We're still dependent on the consequences of the enemy strikes. That's quite clear. But again, as we say, rely on God, but prepare yourself. Well, to what extent all those alternative power sources programs are clear for the people in terms of bureaucratic processes, I think that that's something that scares our people away when they think that they should spend a lot of time, a lot of resources, that they should gather a lot of paperwork. In your opinion, how fast is this process? Well, just like in any other affair, you just have to make this first step. But those initiative groups, those communities who've made it, they're taking part in our programs for third or fourth time because they realize it's not difficult, in fact, and it results in their comfort, it benefits them, it improves their life conditions. Again, even the capitalization of the cost of their real estate, well, there's a lot of pluses. You don't have to spend a lot of energy. It's not complicated. You don't have to take a lot of efforts to take part in all those programs. All the instructions are available in the website of municipal administration. We've implemented the resources where everyone can get familiarized with this information. We are being helped with the Association of the Residential Building Owners Unions, and any residential building community without creating the owners union can take part in our program to install backup power sources in their residential building. They just need to get together, pick a managing company which will act as a representative of their residential building community. So there's a lot of options. There are no complications, no difficulties, and thousands of pieces of equipment that I just mentioned. Those are the real things, and they prove that. You just have to start and make it. I don't really know what conditions should be created for everybody to understand that it's necessary to be done. Like there is an algorithm, and you just have to follow it. Expecting someone to do it for you, well, it's naive and it makes no sense acting like this. So again, stand united, make those elementary steps to get yourself covered during winter period. Well, we've mentioned the long-lasting power shutdowns, but talking about critical infrastructure, to what extent are we ready to any negative developments? Well, the work is underway in this area. This year we've increased the number of mobile boilers twice. That's the type of equipment that is used for heating of hospitals, maternity homes, and any other facilities that require heat. Well, those mobile boilers, they prove themselves as efficient equipment. The Alexandrov Hospital was making use of them within the 3 days of power shutdowns. Then we've prepared the generators for the pumps of the water wells. Well, 100 of boilers that work off generators were equipped with such generators. They can continue working during power shutdowns. There was a lot of work done with artesian wells everywhere when stationary power supply can't be replaced with backup power supply, we do it. Obviously, building some alternative underground capital power supply system is impossible, but we try to make sure that in case of intense power shutdowns in the city, there are still islands that would serve as spots where people can recharge their phones, get heated, and such islands, in such islands, even under conditions of full blackout, necessary conditions will be established, so the work on equipment of infrastructure is underway, and it was continuing during the year. Well, for what we understand that in case of necessity, you are about to deploy the resilience stations that were working during previous years and proved themselves efficient. Well, that's already an efficient system, more than 1,000 resilience stations that are available all across the city. They work during power shutdowns. They will continue working during winter season. We have an opportunity to deploy additional number of resilience stations in coordination with SESU, in case of some sectoral power shutdowns like we had during previous years when the northern part of the city was suffering more. And thus this segment, this resilience, so to say, this resilience of our capital, well, it will get us ready to the winter. Well, talking about the critical infrastructure, different components of critical infrastructure, such as cellular communication, to what extent are we ready to winter? Well, every single carrier was installing batteries, generators at their base stations, so this work was fulfilled, and there are both pluses and minuses here, because sometimes people complain that they hear noises from the generators. Well, there are such people, obviously. We try to sort out such situations, but talking about the cellular communications, we try to make sure that the cell communication will be still there. Talking about internet during power shutdowns, people lose internet at homes, they all switch to LTE, the network gets overloaded. That's why we understand that the task for every carrier is to have uninterrupted GSM communication all across the city during power shutdowns, and all those backup power sources that were installed to make sure that they continue operating, get refueled, to make sure we don't lose at least GSM communication. This work is underway. We test the networks every day, twice a day. We monitor the level of communication. We have the indicators that we measure. So again, the situation is under control in coordination with the carriers of the cellular networks, and we make sure that the communication is uninterrupted in the city. Thank you very much, dear colleagues. Do you have any questions on the floor, in case you have any? And I would like to thank you, sir, for joining our broadcast. Let me remind you, joining us was Petro, the deputy head of Kyiv Municipal State Administration. Thank you very much. Obviously, I want to thank our security and defense forces for opportunity to have events like this. Let's continue working together for our victory, and glory to Ukraine. Thank you.